Former lawyer Michael Cohen has testified in the former president's criminal trial in New York. He told jurors about the decade he spent working for Trump as his self-described fixer. Cohen paid adult film star Stormy Daniels $130,000 just before the 2016 election in exchange for her silence about an alleged sexual encounter with Trump. Prosecutors say the checks Cohen received to reimburse him were falsely classified as legal payments.
There's no fraud here. There's no crime here. This is 4 weeks of keeping me from not campaigning.
And our Robert Costa and Graham Cates are outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan watching this all for us. Thank you both for being here. Bob, I want to start with you. Can you walk us through what we learned from Cohen on the stand today?
Good to be with you, Caitlin. Michael Cohen walked through his entire life and career with Donald Trump, the former president, going back decades into the early 2000s. He explained how he entered Donald Trump's orbit and ultimately about how he started to facilitate this catch and kill operation with David Pecker, the former publisher of the National Enquirer, to catch bad stories about Trump and kill them before they were ever published. And he really tightened the circle around Trump and brought Trump into the story as much as possible, including playing audio in the courtroom of a cell phone conversation he recorded about a chat he had with Trump about another hush money payment made to Karen McDougal, allegedly, the former Playboy playmate.
And Graham, I want to pick up on what Bob said there, because these are two men who have had a long history together. And so I'm really curious, we don't have any cameras in the courtroom. So tell us, what was Trump's demeanor like in that courtroom during Cohen's testimony?
There's been a lot of talk throughout this trial about Trump having his eyes shut. And for long stretches throughout this testimony, he rarely seemed to look over to Cohen, but for long stretches, he again had his eyes shut. But, he appeared to be listening. Anytime Melania Trump was mentioned, he would perk up. He would shake his head. He would speak to his lawyers. He was reacting to what was going on, but he was just kind of sitting there, kind of slumped down in this chair. And again, for long stretches, just kind of with his eyes closed as Cohen was testifying. Again, never really looking at Cohen throughout these hours of testimony.
And let's talk about that testimony, Graham. I mean, how important is this testimony to the prosecution's case?
There's no doubt that this is what it's all about. Cohen is the key witness. We've heard throughout this trial people who are designed to bolster Cohen's testimony, introducing documents and kind of prior testimony that he can now mirror, that they can say, even if Trump's team says he has credibility issues, that he's lied under oath before, the prosecutors are going to be able to say, listen to what everyone else said that Cohen also mirrored. And he's the one, as Bob said, who's bringing Trump into the story. He's the only eyewitness, the only person who was in some of the central conversations in which he says Trump okayed him making this payment to Stormy Daniels, and then more crucially, this year's worth of monthly reimbursements to Cohen for that payment that prosecutors say month after month after month involved falsified documents to cover the whole thing up.
And Bob, you've interviewed Cohen before. Can you kind of explain, who he is, or was, I should say, in Trump world?
Well, I used to go visit Trump when he was thinking about running for president back in 2014, 2015, and Michael Cohen was always there. He was a confidant. He was the so-called fixer at Trump's side. And this is someone who had a view into what Trump was doing publicly and privately. And he dealt with issues that were complicated for Trump that didn't necessarily have to do with the Trump organization. So, for example, as Cohen testified today, when a taxi driver hits Trump's limousine, Cohen deals with that sort of issue. He wasn't always just doing development deals. It was a lot of personal family matters that he was getting into for Trump. So when it came to allegations about his conduct, whether it was an alleged encounter or something else, Michael Cohen took care of it. And sometimes, as he testified today, took a lot of steps on his own to try to figure things out for Trump, to impress Trump, to stay in his good graces. Ultimately, they have had a major falling out. He is now an antagonist of Trump publicly, a fierce critic. But for a long time, he was in the inner circle.
Yeah, so Bob, I mean, we have Michael Cohen on the outs, but you have several people who are trying to get close to Trump now kind of coming into view. It's been interesting to see Republicans join Trump at court. I think J.D. Vance was there today. We are hearing that former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy will be in court with Trump tomorrow. I'm curious, and I think the former president talked a little bit about this. Let's take a listen.
I think this trial is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's a sham prosecution. And I think that luckily the president's supporters should know that he's actually in great spirits.
First of all, I'm disappointed in the courtroom. I'm hearing Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump. He is former President Trump. Give him some respect.
It's truly outrageous that this is how District Attorney Alvin Bragg is choosing to use New Yorkers' tax dollars, wasting precious courtroom time on this sham trial.
All right, so we heard from an array of Republicans who have joined with Trump at the courtroom. Bob, what's the strategy behind this, having, allies at his side at the courthouse?
Well, Trump has a gag order in this case, so he can't necessarily speak out about the jury. He can't speak out about witnesses like Michael Cohen. So if others speak out on his behalf, well, they're not covered under the gag order, so that's to Trump's benefit. But some of these people have their own political ideas and ambitions. Senator Vance of Ohio is someone widely considered to be in the running, possibly, to beat Trump's running mate in the 2024 election. What's notable here is that this is a major, almost seismic event inside the elite ranks of the Trump wing of the Republican Party, but not necessarily in the Republican Party broadly or in American politics across the country. There are no crowds here, no major protests of either Trump critics or Trump supporters, but you do have a couple senators coming here, making sure former President Trump knows they're here. A few members of the House have been here. There was even the Iowa Attorney General, the top law enforcement official in the state of Iowa, was here helping show solidarity with a criminal defendant in New York. It's an odd, surreal American political scene, but it's in step for what we've seen in the 2024 campaign.
Yeah, all seems to go with the former president. Graham, just quickly, what should we look forward to tomorrow in terms of Cohen?
Well, he's still on the stand being questioned by prosecutors. When it's the defense's turn, you can expect that it's going to be a fierce examination. They're going to question his credibility. They're going to attack him for having previously lied under oath. And they're going to hit at his motivations, much as they did for Stormy Daniels, attacking him for essentially profiting off of his antagonism of Trump. They're going to point to his podcasts, his books, his TV appearances, his many, many tweets and other social media about Trump. It's going to be a long, kind of withering attack on who Cohen is now in relation to Trump.
And just one quick point about that. Every time I've spoken with Michael Cohen, I know you've reported on him a lot over the years, he's fully aware of the credibility issues. He's been to jail on federal charges related to this case, lying to Congress. He always says in almost every interview, don't make it about Michael Cohen, make it about the documentation, the checks that were signed by Trump and other papers he has. And we'll see if the jury listens to that point.
All right, Bob and Graham, as I mentioned, no cameras allowed in the courtroom, but I feel like I was there because of your reporting. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.